Liz Truss has resigned as the leader of the Conservative Party and as the British Prime Minister, bringing an end to the shortest tenure of any Prime Minister in Britain's long history. She made that announcement outside 10 Downing Street.
I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party. This morning I met the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security. I will remain as Prime Minister until a successor has been chosen. Thank you.
No questions or answers, just that statement, bringing an end to a 6-week tenure, the shortest, as I was mentioning, in British history. There's Abby Kugathasan, who was listening in, as I was, as you were, to the stunning announcement. You know, just yesterday she said she was a fighter, Abby, not a quitter, and yet giving in today to the increasing pressure, perhaps inevitably. Take us through what has just happened.
Heather, in recent weeks, her credibility gone, her authority gone, and now so is she. A disastrous mini budget less than a month ago shook up the markets. We remember the pound crashed, mortgage rates shot up, and then she fired her chancellor, someone that she felt was, you know, her political soulmate, Kwasi Kwarteng, and replaced him with a Rishi Sunak supporter in Jeremy Hunt. And Jeremy Hunt announced that he was essentially undoing everything she had promised. And there was already talk that Jeremy Hunt was actually the de facto prime minister at this point. Then yesterday, the complete disarray of this party out on full display. Tory MPs were forlorn, furious, horrified by the chaos that they were witnessing. There were reports of Tory MPs manhandling their colleagues to force them in to the House of Commons to vote with the government. Reports of MPs in tears. It just seemed impossible this morning that she could go on. But just this morning, 10 Downing Street said she would. But then she met with the chair of the 1922 committee, Graham Brady. He works out how much support the Tory leader has. And of course, we publicly know that more than a dozen MPs had openly called for her to go, and now she's out. But again, she's just saying there she's going to stay in office until they replace her. She says that will happen next week. They're going to have a leadership election next week. The previous one that brought her to power lasted for months, Heather.
So this is going to be interesting. The leadership election, then that person will be the British Prime Minister. The next one, of course, the calls have come already, Abby, from both the Liberal Democrat, Lib Dems, and also from Labour, that there should be a general election. And we're already hearing that from Keir Starmer, who leads Labour. The Conservative Party has shown it no longer has a mandate to govern. That has just come out from him. So calls for a general election. So whoever they select as leader, they'll need to find, you know, someone who can bring unity to this party in disarray, someone around whom the Conservatives can coalesce. Who could that be?
And that has been an issue for this party perhaps for years, but in recent weeks, this has really been the issue amongst Conservatives. They can't seem to decide who that unity candidate would be. Some in the party saying there is no unity candidate. They are so divided. There's a Johnson faction, there's a Sunak faction, there's a Truss faction, and there's some that don't want any of them at all. But some people are looking at Rishi Sunak. He was her top rival in the leadership race. He's the one also who kickstarted the rebellion against Boris Johnson that pushed him out, and some Tories are still furious about it. But again, he did finish second in that leadership contest, and some of his supporters saying, and they have been saying in recent days, that he's the right person to take over the Democratic choice. Others will say, you know, it's not going to be him. It should be the new chancellor. It should be Jeremy Hunt. He's on top of mind for many. He didn't fare well, though, in previous leadership contests, the previous one from this summer, and he has again said that he does not want to be the leader. There's also Penny Mordaunt. She finished third in the last race. She stepped up to take on opposition leader Keir Starmer in the House earlier this week, an audition perhaps. And a new poll shows that most Tory party members who selected Truss now heavily favor turning back the clock. 32% of party members that were polled want Boris Johnson back in office. And one Conservative MP has said that is absolutely the only solution because he has the mandate to govern. He won the 2019 election. Anything else is undemocratic, and that they must call for a general election. And as you just said, Keir Starmer, the opposition leader, the Labour leader, demanding it. The Liberal Democrats also calling for it. And I'm sure that there's plenty of people here in the United Kingdom wondering why they aren't able to choose the next Prime Minister.